Welcome everyone, karibu sana. Today we will be learning a song in the Swahili language, and it will also help us learn some basic greetings and other words in Swahili. The song is called Jambo Bwana by the group Them Mushrooms. Even though it's an older song from the 80s, it's been covered a lot, and you might hear it played in the Nairobi airport if you ever find yourself visiting Kenya. Here's what it sounds like. Jambo, Jambo Bwana, Habari, gani, Mzuri sana, Wageni, wakaribishwa, Kenya yetu, hakuna matata. Maybe there are some words you already recognize in the lyrics, and we're going to talk about those a bit. First of all, jambo is a really interesting word because it is a real Swahili word, but it's not used as a greeting the way it's often portrayed to Americans.
Jambo. What?
Jambo is a noun, which means issue, thing, or sometimes problem. So as a greeting, you might say to a person you see, Hujambo? That basically translates to, do you have any issues, any problems? And they might respond, Si Jambo, which means, I don't have any problems, I'm fine. If you're talking to more than one person, you might say, Hamjambo? Do you all have any problems? To which the reply is, Hatujambo. We don't have problems, we're all good. When I taught at a school in Kenya, we would have weekly all-school assemblies, and when a teacher or the headmaster or a student got up to make an announcement, they would usually preface it with Hamjambo, and the assembly would reply, Hatujambo. So, it's used as a greeting with those certain prefixes, not just jambo by itself. It's also used in more formal settings, like at schools. You'll hear these jambo-style greetings more often in Tanzania or the Kenyan coast, where people speak Kiswahili sanifu, a more formal or proper version of Swahili. In central Kenya, where I lived, and around Nairobi, you'll more likely hear very casual greetings among friends like Niaje, Mambo Vipi, Sasa, Umeshindaje, and so on. If you say Hujambo to someone in Nairobi, it might appear as very formal and kind of square, whereas if you say Sasa to someone in Mombasa, it might appear too casual and actually quite rude. So, you always want to be aware of the area in East Africa where the Swahili is being spoken, so you know the proper amount of formality to use. Why is jambo used in this song? Well, the word jambo found its way into international songs, movies, popular culture, etc., and it became a word that white Westerners, or Mzungus, recognized. So to make these Western tourists feel more welcome, perhaps to make them feel a little more uninhibited with their holiday cash, Kenyans at hotels, resorts, or craftsmen working at markets might greet them with jambo. Then tourists began associating that term with the greeting, and it became kind of like a self-perpetuating cycle. That's probably why it appears in this song, a song sending a message of welcome to visitors who come to Kenya. I don't know of any other cases where there's been a specific tourist-oriented greeting, which is why I find this case so interesting. But if you do know of any, you can let me know in the comments. Anyway, back to the song. If I sing this song for my students, I might ask them to first listen for any words that rhyme. This can be difficult to do when you're listening to a new language, so maybe guide them to words that end with the ah sound. Jambo, Jambo Bwana, Habari, gani, Mzuri sana. We can hear that Bwana and sana rhyme. Bwana is a way to address a man. It's a title like Sir or Mr. and can be used to mean Lord as well. So sometimes you'll hear it in Christian hymns. E Bwana unipandishe. O Lord, you lift me up, for example. So our first line is, hello, sir. Repeat after me. Jambo Bwana. The next part, Habari, gani, is a question. This is a much more common greeting in Kenya, using the word habari, which means news. As I said in my counting to 10 video, you can say Habari yako, which means what's your news? What's new with you? Or if you're talking to lots of people, you can say Habari yenu or Habari zenu.
Habari zenu.
Gani means what or what kind. So it's like saying, what news do you have? Jambo, Jambo Bwana, Habari gani, Mzuri sana. Now our last part is Mzuri sana. Mzuri means good and sana means very. So Mzuri sana, it's like saying, my news is very good, I'm doing well. Let's practice that part. For Mzuri, you kind of hum the M before that second syllable. Mzuri. Sana. Mzuri sana. Habari gani? Mzuri sana. Great, let's practice that first part. See if you can hear the question and answer nature of the conversation. Jambo, Jambo Bwana, Habari gani, Mzuri sana. Now I'll put together the whole verse so you can hear the next part. Jambo, Jambo Bwana, Habari gani, Mzuri sana. Wageni, wakaribishwa, Kenya yetu, hakuna matata. I bet there's probably another phrase you recognized in there too. Hakuna matata.
Hakuna matata.
This is interesting because it's also very similar to Jambo. If you spend time in Kenya, you probably won't see any Kenyans saying hakuna matata to each other. They are real Swahili words, but their usage just isn't very common together. After the popularization of this song almost 40 years ago, and then the huge success of Disney's The Lion King, Americans and other Mzungus were very familiar with this phrase, and so Kenyans in the tourism industry would say it to them often to make them feel welcome, feel that kind of recognition. And it's another one of those tourist-only kinds of phrases. Among Kenyans, you'll more often hear something like usijali, which means don't worry, or haina shida, it's not a problem. Or there are probably more casual colloquial expressions I don't know, as the language continues to develop and evolve, especially in Nairobi. So, as you're singing this song with students, you might want to have them listen for these words they might recognize at first, like Jambo and Hakuna Matata, so that the song doesn't seem completely new to them. Let's sing it again and pay special attention to Jambo at the beginning and Hakuna Matata at the end. Jambo, Jambo Bwana, Habari gani, Mzuri sana. Wageni, wakaribishwa, Kenya yetu, hakuna matata. Let's talk about the other lyrics in the second half. Wageni, wakaribishwa. Wageni is guests or visitors. And wakaribishwa means you are all welcome. Swahili is interesting because you can have one long word that's equivalent to a whole sentence in English. So wakaribishwa is just one word, but it has different prefixes and suffixes that combine to mean you are all welcome. So visitors, guests, tourists, you're all welcome here. Let's practice that. Wageni, wakaribishwa. Wakaribishwa. Wageni, wakaribishwa. And the next part, Kenya yetu, hakuna matata. We all know Kenya, the country, and yetu means our. So it's like saying, our Kenya, you're welcome to our Kenya. And as you just heard, of course, hakuna matata means there's no problems. Hakuna is actually very common, so you might hear it a lot in combination with other words. Like if you sit down to drink tea and someone says, hakuna sukari, there's no sugar here. Let's review our lyrics in the whole verse. Here we go. Jambo, Jambo Bwana, Habari, gani, Mzuri sana. Wageni, wakaribishwa, Kenya yetu, hakuna matata. And let's sing that verse again. Jambo, Jambo Bwana, Habari, gani, Mzuri sana. Wageni, wakaribishwa, Kenya yetu, hakuna matata. We don't have too much to learn after all this, because the song only contains one verse and we just sang it. However, there's also a call and response section at the end, which you can extend as long as you like. The response will always be, hakuna matata. You might notice the accent and stress pattern of the phrase is changed a little bit here. This is just to make it fit with the meter and rhythmic prosody of the song. Most of the time, with very few exceptions, the stress in a Swahili word comes on the penultimate or second to last syllable, like Kenya, Bwana, Mzuri, Wageni, kupendeza, and so on. I'll show you how the call and response section goes with a few examples. Kenya nchi nzuri, hakuna matata. Nchi ya maajabu, hakuna matata. Nchi ya kupendeza, hakuna matata. See if you can join in this time with a few more examples. Kenya nchi nzuri, hakuna matata. Wakaribishwa, hakuna matata. Kenya wote, hakuna matata. Kila siku, hakuna matata. Hakuna matata, hakuna matata. Kenya yetu, hakuna matata. You can hear that even when I change the melody a little bit, or even the rhythm, the response is always the same. So it's an easy way to join in and participate, no matter your level of familiarity with the song. Finally, I'll show you a simple accompaniment that you can play. To keep it super simple, you can just go between the 1 chord and the 5-7 chord. In this case, C and G7. So we'll start with C, G7, stay on G7, back to C, and repeat. C, G7, back to C. Jambo, Jambo Bwana, Habari, gani, Mzuri sana. Wageni, wakaribishwa, Kenya yetu, hakuna matata. And it's the same progression for the call and response too. Kenya nchi nzuri, hakuna matata. Watu wote, hakuna matata. Kila siku, hakuna matata. Hakuna matata, hakuna matata. Now, if you want to mix it up a little bit, you can also add in a D minor chord there. So we have C, D minor, then G7, back to C, and repeat. C, D minor, G7, back to C. Jambo, Jambo Bwana, Habari, gani, Mzuri sana. Repeat. Wageni, working with a lot of students, you can also add some harmony parts. An upper harmony part might sound like this. Jambo, Jambo Bwana, Habari, gani, Mzuri sana, Wageni, wakaribishwa, Kenya yetu, hakuna matata. And a lower harmony part might sound like this. Jambo, Jambo Bwana, Habari, gani, Mzuri sana, Wageni, wakaribishwa, Kenya yetu, hakuna matata. You can also add some percussion accompaniment as well, with whatever sorts of instruments you have, or even body percussion. You can come up with whatever rhythms or patterns you'd like to incorporate. Finally, the call and response section might also be a good place for some creativity. You can work with students or whoever you're singing with to look up different phrases in Swahili and what they mean. Or maybe you feel more comfortable using English phrases to talk about the country of Kenya, what might attract visitors there, since after all, both English and Swahili are spoken in Kenya. Whoever is leading the call and response also has some freedom and creativity to play around with the melody within that certain chord progression, and even to change the rhythm a little bit, because that response is always going to come in with the same hakuna matata. I'll put a link in the description to the original recording by Them Mushrooms so you can check it out and see what it sounds like. I hope you've learned a little bit about the Swahili language today, and if you're interested to learn more, I encourage you to check out resources that feature native speakers of the language, such as the podcast, SwahiliPod 101. There are also lots of great YouTube videos that tell Swahili children's stories, and you can get a sense of the language there at a more beginner level. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye! Kwaheri!